8 p.m. news on STV coming up. Public Health Minister Andre Mamafuda gives a positive vote to the advancement of works at the Gynecological Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital in Bafoussam. At the end of the ministerial visit today, it is said the health facility would be complete by 2019. 2018 presidential election in Cameroon, contestants are known to all. But who are these people? We begin profiling them in our special package today. Stay with us. Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Public Health Minister Andre Mamafuda was in the West Region today, precisely in Bafoussam, to evaluate construction works at the Gynecological Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital. At the end of his visit, he expressed satisfaction with the advancement of the project, expected to be complete by 2019. Darling Fujo reports.
This is the Gynecological Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital in Bafoussam in the West Region. General works at this construction site stand at 20% with a 50% realization of major projects, a satisfactory execution rate according to the Minister of Public Health.
Why? Because the contractor changed the speed. Actually, we have average 300 workers. That the rate is very good. Then we reach the state of roof. It's important to finish this stage in the end of September, and I think that the main structure will finish in the end of the year.
Visiting the construction site this 8th of August 2018, Andre Mamafuda reiterated that works must continue despite difficulties recorded.
The main difficulties is water from the hill. Then now you have the technical solution, and I think the progress is very good for this project, and I expect that we have to continue to maintain this rain, and we think no social problem noticed in this visit.
The construction of this hospital center to cater for maternal infant health is expected to be finalized by early 2019.
Another who visited construction site today was the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Jean-Claude Mbwenchu, who checked low-cost houses in the south region of the country. He went down to evaluate work done so far. Let's hear him. Well, we shall be coming back to that in our subsequent newscast. We open our special package for 2018 presidential elections. The list of 9 candidates to run for the presidential polls have been made known by ELECAM, and those whose names did not feature have to petition their plight through an appeal within 48 hours. John Paul Sama takes a look at what is left before the October 7 race.
Going by Cameroon's electoral code, it states in section 125 sub 2 that the Director General of Elections Cameroon is to notify the persons concerned of the decision to reject their candidacy, and a copy of that decision shall be forwarded to the Constitutional Council, while the affected parties have 2 days to appeal this decision following the publication of the list. The body will then deliberate and rule on their complaint 10 days after. The retained candidate will begin one of, if not the most important part of the race, with the electoral campaign, which kicks off on September 24, 2018. They will then have 2 weeks to convince the electorate why they are the best candidate to sit in the Etudi mansion. The 7th of October 2018 will be the D-Day when the polls will be flung open in the presence of diplomatic representatives for Cameroonians to exercise their right to vote and choose their leader. The polls are expected to open nationwide from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the said day.
6 candidates retained by ELECAM for October 7 are newcomers. Amongst them is Honorable Joshua Osi, flag bearer of the Social Democratic Front Party, SDF. He is the first as we open our series of profiling candidates. Peter Sosie tells us more.
Joshua Nabangi Osi is the first vice president of the country's front-line opposition party, the Social Democratic Front (SDF), and member of parliament for Vore Center in the Littoral region. Born on December 9, 1968 in Kumba to Reverend Dr. Ruben Osi, a Cameroonian, and Therese Osi, a Swiss. Joshua Osei joined the SDF in March 1991 in Douala, and 11 years later, he was elected regional chair of the party for the Southwest region. In 2006, he was elected second vice president of the party, and 6 years later, first vice chair of the party. In 2013, he became the first Anglophone member of parliament in Douala. Osei was confirmed as SDF flag bearer for the 2018 presidential elections in February this year, and his candidature has been validated by the Electoral Council. He believes that the October 7 presidential elections constitute a timely occasion for democratic change in Cameroon. Joshua Osei is also an established aviation expert, notably in operations and management. With more than a quarter of a century of business under his belt, the 49-year-old conducts business aviation, ecotourism and hospitality. With more than a quarter of a century of business experience under his belt, the 49-year-old conducts operations in aviation, ecotourism and hospitality as Chief Executive Officer of Camport PLC and African Travel Management.
Political aspirant President Paul Biya, at the age of 85, will be running for a 7th mandate during the October 7, 2018 polls. Amongst the 9 candidates retained, he is the oldest, and his political parcours began as far back as 1982, when the then Prime Minister was appointed president after the resignation of Cameroon's first president, Amadou Ahidjo. Darling Ferjo.
It is on Twitter that Paul Biya, flag bearer of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, declared his intention to secure a 7th consecutive term in office in the October 7 presidential election. Paul Barthélemy Biya Bivondo, oldest of the 9 candidates on the race to Etodi, was born on the 13th of February 1983 in Vomeka, South region of Cameroon. The son of Etienne Vondo Assam and Elanga Anastasie, saw his accession to power in 1982 after the resignation of his predecessor Amadou Ahidjo. Motivated at his early age by Catholic missionaries to become a priest, Biya, upon completing his high school at Lycée Leclerc in Yaoundé, chose to foster his studies at the University of Paris, where he obtained a degree in law in 1960. He later returned to his home country and rose to various ranks and senior positions. He was in charge of the Department of Foreign Development, Director of Civil Cabinet, General Secretary General at the Presidency, Minister of State and Prime Minister in 1975. In 1984, a 99.98% victory extended Paul Biya's stay at the Unity Palace. A year after, that is 1985, the Lion Man, as he is often called, dissolved the Cameroon National Union and established the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. The incumbent later in 1988 won the confidence of the people and was re-elected for a 2nd term, a mandate during which opposition parties were formed and the first multi-party elections organized in 1992 with John Fundi of the Social Democratic Front, the opposition candidate. With his rigor and moralization promise, Paul Biya reaffirmed his position amidst hard controversy. The claim of fraud in previous election will lead to the boycott of opposition parties including SDF. Consequence, 3rd victory for Biya. In 2004, he is yet again sworn in after a 70.92% vote, despite widespread allegations of fraud, barred by a 2-term limit in the 1996 Constitution from seeking another term. The National Assembly removed the term limit. The man, who is also known for ending the dispute over the Bakassi Peninsula with neighboring Nigeria, snatched his 6th mandate with the promise of great accomplishments in 2011. At 85, Paul Biya aims to extend his 36-year rule and maintain his name on the roster of Africa's longest-serving president.
Meantime, the Cameroon Democratic Union (CDU) is deeply concerned over the disturbing context surrounding the presidential election. At a strategic meeting in Yaoundé, officials, however, remain positive. Their candidate, Adamu Ndamjoya, has all it takes to bring change in Cameroon. Peter Sosi.
Adamu Ndamjoya has been retained among 9 candidates to contest the October 7 presidential elections. However, his party, the Cameroon Democratic Union (CDU), is not confident over the fair conduct of the polls.
Cameroonians can't be free to go for election. It's very difficult to have electoral cards. It's very difficult to even vote the day of the election. It's very difficult to go for a political party from one point to another. There is lack of means, there is lack of route.
Despite the tough realities, the party is going in for the elections with the hope of assuring citizen participation in the electoral process.
In CDU, the power is to let people be like happy, to let people be ingenious, to let people be like aware of the fact that it is their participation, their mobilization who can bring the real change.
At the moment, officials are working on a winning strategy that will guarantee a better life for all Cameroonians.
The power is not to be shared by friends or to have the power to have a lot of money, to have all the money, but the power is to build the country. The power is to permit our children to be well educated, with schools, with teachers, our people to be like, to have good health, to be able to enjoy all the richness we have in Cameroon.
The party is also planning sustained reforms on the electoral code and presidential age limit should it triumph in the polls.
Denizens and some political analysts in Boya in the southwest region of the country have reacted over the selection of 9 presidential candidates. Let's hear them in this report compiled by Clarissa Kowe and Tebo Shedrack.
9 out of 28 presidential candidates who submitted their files at the Elekam office have been retained to run for the October 7 race to the Unity Palace. In this light, some political analysts and inhabitants of Boya have reacted differently to the published list of candidates. To Mr. Kwendi Johnson, SCF District Chairman in Boya, he expressed joy for his party candidate, Joshua Osi, while giving his take on the list of other presidential aspirants and what should be taken into consideration as campaigns approaches.
Want to be president of the country, you must have a following. From all those candidates, the only candidate who has a following nationwide is Joshua Osi, who has been put forward by the SDF. Paul Biya has worked for many years. Cameroonians have seen him. He ought to retire. He, as the head of state, who has been on seat for all this time that this problem has been on, he should make effort to solve this problem before either retiring or contesting election.
Given the presence of a strong opposition, others on their part propose for a coalition as a step which will stand a better chance to overcome the leading CPDM political party.
Keremuna Kamto and Joshua are the better candidates. I support their selection. But what I feel is that they should form a coalition. Because the way it is going, I don't think only one person will create any impact if it's only one person. And more to that, if you have the country at heart, I don't see why you're fighting that you must be you to be a presidential candidate.
I think OC should be given a chance. OC should be given a chance.
I think with respect to their ages and their different walks of life, I think that I have no doubt with respect to the fact that they can shoulder the responsibility of carrying this nation forward through the next 7 years.
With the current unrest hitting the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon and campaigns to soon take off with these 2 regions not excluded, uncertainty looms in the air as to if the called elections will hold.
Legal redress could be sought for in case of any abuse when in detention. In order to fight against illegal detention and abuses, some 18 members of a commission to assist persons detained or illegally arrested have been sworn in at the Supreme Court in Yaoundé today. Amongst them, juries, parliamentarians, judicial police officers and civil administrators. They have all been tasked with repairing prejudice emanating from abusive detention. A consignment of 553 laptops have been shared to high-level technicians of the National Advanced School of Public Works Annex in Boya. Governor Bernal Kaliabilai cautioned them to use these electronic devices diligently. Pelagie Kweni reports.
In keeping with the head of state's policy of fostering jobs to young Cameroonians as part of his vision for an emerging Cameroon by 2035, these are students from the National Advanced School of Public Works Annex in Boya, officially benefiting from the ongoing distribution of laptops, with over 553 consignments received by the higher technical sector, following a registration made with a team from the Ministry of Higher Education and National Advanced School of Public Works in Yaoundé. Officiating during this ceremony is the governor of the Southwest region, who called on all the recipients to meaningfully utilize this offer. Meanwhile, the director of this institution, Mr. Kunchu Emmanuel, loaded his heartfelt appreciation to the President of the Republic.
As a director of this institution, having witnessed the distribution of the laptops offered by the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, I want to think that those who have received them, being technicians of fields that we all know, civil engineering, rural engineering, land survey and town planning, it will go a long way to help them to preserve their knowledge, to continue their research.
To these beneficiaries, their joy is superfilled as a promise to render support to the head of state in the upcoming polls, while admitting to ensure a proper usage of this device.
This computer you're using for develop our country, because my country will be developed with the young. The young is the future of our country.
I'm saying thank you for the President of Cameroon, Republic of Cameroon, because his promise is giving.
It should be recorded this National Advanced School of Public Works Annex in Boya comprises of 1,500 students, with 25% made up of females, and it is well equipped with 10 classrooms and a sophisticated geotechnical laboratory, just to name but these, all provided by the head of state as a follow-up to his 2035 vision, with youths being the leaders of tomorrow.
SDF coordinator Mayor Balikawa Fidelis has thanked all goodwill individuals who have contributed in the welfare of displaced persons. This, he said, while distributing goods to some internally displaced people in the Northwest region. Lavette reports.
Goods that were destined for displaced persons in Nigeria, initiated by the SDF party, have ended up not reaching its desired destination.
Fortunately, the visa, the green light for us to transport these things from here through the borders into Nigeria was not given. Why it was not given, we cannot tell. But I want to believe that it has to do with politics. And you people know, when a good politician is working, others want to put speed brakes. And I think that it was a way of putting speed brakes on the part of the SDF. Because what the SDF was to do wouldn't have only been national, but it would be international. Because leaving one border to the other, that was going to propel the SDF far wide over there.
The goods have been in the warehouse for more than 5 months, and the perishable ones have already gotten bad. In order not to allow the efforts of all those goodwill individuals to go in vain, the party has decided to distribute the goods to all internally displaced persons in Cameroon.
Now that we could not go, well, we have internally displaced, and so we are going to share it to our internally displaced within the two regions, the Northwest region and the Southwest region. Know where they are. And I want to be very frank to tell you that there are families here I have visited hosting more than 15 people, one family. So you find in a small cubicle, a small house, 18 people. How they feed is not easy. And you and me, please, want you people, identify them. There are many more houses which you may know than me alone. Give us the names, but we shall also verify. It's not just a matter of carrying things and giving, but we'll also verify and actually make sure that these drugs go and the food goes to the rightful owners.
Balikawa Fidelis, Mayor of Bamenda 2 Council, and one of the coordinators have expressed gratitude to all those people who have contributed in one way or the other for the well-being of Cameroonian refugees, and have also called on those displaced persons in Cameroon, wherever they are, to come and identify themselves in order to get their own share of the goods.
General Express Travel Agency in Bafoussam has continued with its activities today, despite destruction recorded last evening. According to officials, the building harboring some detached services of the bus station was completely consumed by flames. Investigations to know the source of the fire are on course. 2018-2019 academic year, parents in Bamenda are yet to begin preparing their children's school needs. Book vendors say textbooks are yet available. Tellers, on their part, say uniforms are not ordered. Lovett Bear, Ignacio Samabo.
In less than a month, students and pupils would be going back to school for the 2018-2019 academic year. But the atmosphere in the Northwest region is not portraying any signs of preparations towards the new school year. The prescribed textbooks for the new academic year have already been made public, but bookshops and some book vendors in the Northwest region say these textbooks are not yet available. But even if they were available, they won't have the finances to purchase them, as their shops are still full with unsold textbooks bought some 2 years back.
In bookshops, they spend billions in storing books. Those of us selling second-hand books, we spend a lot of money. We borrow money from credit unions to put here. You cannot just come up and change all the books. It was supposed to change some and allow us to sell some, so that the following year they should come up with a new book list and not to change everything.
The publishers have not shown any sign of bringing the books. Those books we got last 2 years, have not been sold. So we don't even have a cash now to buy the new one.
Parents on their part are not showing any signs of interest.
We don't know what's the problem. I will not actually know. Parents are not coming to buy.
The story is the same for tailors whose workshops at this time in the past used to be full with school uniforms and parents giving commands for their children's school wear. The school uniforms you see in most tailoring workshops in Bamenda are old stocks and commands from parents out of the region.
The parents are not coming. I have the old stock since 2 years ago. These are school uniform, but not from Bamenda.
Since up to now, no man ever even come for so.
Friend has shown up at my workshop for her child's uniform. In the past, parents used to start giving commands by July. The story is different now. The uniforms you see in my workshop are old stocks of last year. The school uniforms we are presently working on are commands given by parents in Francophone regions. Business people dealing in materials haven't even bothered stocking their shops with materials of school uniforms because the ones bought last year have not yet been sold. In the past, business for all the sectors dealing with back-to-school items would have been booming by now. But the socio-economic situation in the region has left these businessmen with nothing but regrets of ever getting themselves involved in such businesses.
Locals of Eshok, a community worst hit by a landslide on October 4, 2017 in Sanchu, West region of Cameroon, decry the hardship they live in. No support the sea has been given them since the incident and are not sure of sending their children back to school. John Paul Sama.
The August 4, 2017 landslide in Chang is still fresh in the minds of locals of Eshok in the Sanchu municipality, where they are forced to live with the negative fallout of the deadly landslide 1 year after, which claimed the lives of some 2 children and caused enormous material damages. There are no passageways for us to move to the other side, and our children can't even cross to school.
De commander pour pouvoir envoyer leurs enfants à l'école. Comme vous constatez, vous voyez partout, tout a été dévoré.
There was a large plantation here of about 3,000 hectares, which is gone.
La souffrance continue toujours à Eshok, dans l'arrondissement de Sanchu. Le village Eshok, la souffrance continue toujours jusqu'aujourd'hui.
This lady is one of those whose child was lost in the disaster, and with the help of non-governmental organizations and the population, she has relocated to a different area. But life's challenges are difficult to tackle. Since I moved here, I've been largely living on credit to do my business. An ad hoc committee was put in place to do follow-up.
Je peux vous rassurer que dans les jours qui suivent, on peut donc avoir
They will be getting the numbers behind the incident as well as the root cause before making short and long-term proposals. While the locals say the state has lifted no hands to ease their pain.
La saison prochaine, nous ne savons pas ce qu'on va faire. Vraiment, si l'État ne peut pas agir, nous ne sommes fini.
1 year after the deadly landslide, some are still salvaging what they can from the ruins to better their lives while trying to put the past behind them.
Let's get news out of Cameroon with VOA.
About 200 people, including some of the survivors, gathered in this park Tuesday to remember their loved ones and offer a prayer. They were joined by U.S. Ambassador Robert Godek, other embassy officials and Kenyan officials. Families laid flowers and recited the names of the dead. Diana Mutisia, who was injured, said the attack changed her life.
With the time, I've lived to live positively and also had that change of attitude and also felt that life must go on despite what happened. But I live one day at a time.
Douglas Sidialo lost his sight on the day of the attack. Now, the spot where he was injured has become a place of hope for him.
When I come here at the Memorial Park, I consider this as a sanctuary of peace, a sanctuary of love, and a sanctuary of unity. And also to demonstrate that whatever happened to us, our spirits are strong.
Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility for the August 7, 1998 attacks on the 2 U.S. embassies. The bombings killed a total of 224 people and injured nearly 5,000 others.
In an awful moment, the lives of thousands changed forever, as did the lives of their families and friends. Today, we remember and mourn those who were killed, and we stand with all who were injured or touched by this brutal attack.
Despite efforts to improve security and thwart terrorist attacks over the years, Kenyan officials warn the threat still exists.
The threat remains, requiring continued vigilance, but our determined efforts have fundamentally blunted the ability of terrorist actors to destroy the fabric of our social, religious, and political life.
Here, the families spoke of forgiveness and unity, but vowed never to forget the attack that has changed their lives forever. Mohammed Yusuf for VOA News, Nairobi.
Today's 8 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television has ended. Thank you so much for watching. Join you tomorrow, same time, same TV station, if God pleases.